Victor Adetiba with ScrumLife.com, back with another episode of our book club. This episode is sponsored by Mansa Tech Training Academy, link in the description. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Today we're reading another excerpt from the book, 97 Things Every Scrum Practitioner Should Know, Collective Wisdom from the Experts, edited by Gunther Varen, page 14. Regularly revert to the simplest thing that might work. Todd Miller. Many years ago, I left a job as a Scrum Master to become a Scrum Master at another company. I was leaving an awesome Scrum team. They worked well together, had grown in their use of Scrum, had implemented practices that worked wonderfully, and were building a great product. But I was ready for a new challenge. I became part of a new Scrum team that was going to build a new product. In our first few days as a team, we spent quite some time discussing Scrum. It helped us grow a common understanding and start using the same language while getting to know one another. Everyone was engaged and shared enthusiasm in leveraging Scrum to build that new, complex product. Meanwhile, there was enough product backlog for us to feel comfortable starting our first sprint. Prior to that first sprint, we would have a one-day team kickoff. I had meticulously planned an agenda for the day, including sharing and promoting practices that I strongly felt would work for us. I wanted to carry insights and lessons from my previous Scrum team forward to this team. I went to great lengths to put together and facilitate a day of intense collaboration. The first sessions went quite well. The Scrum team discussed the current product backlog, making sure the work ordered for the first few sprints was well understood, and crafted a definition of done that was more than good enough to get going. But when I introduced the next topic, the creation of a team working agreement, things started to take a strange turn. Team members started asking why this was necessary. After all, our first week together was going well. As I sensed the tension in the room growing quickly, I canned the idea and went on to the next item on the agenda. Much to my surprise, I met with similar resistance and worse. It increased with each point I tried to work my way into. Then suddenly I was asked a question I came unprepared to answer. Why are you making things so complicated? My only response was these practices worked for me at my last job. This felt unsatisfactory, not just to the team, but even more so to me. It felt uneasy, but I decided to let go of the plan, my ambitions for the kickoff day, and declare us ready for the first sprint. While I initially felt puzzled, the situation actually turned into a great lesson for me. In the complex domain of work, what works in one situation is not guaranteed to work in another. My new Scrum team went on to do great things and discovered and changed practices along the way. This experience still works as a personal reminder that what matters most in the complex work is empiricism, the process of frequently inspecting and adapting upon transparency. Empiricism in Scrum stretches you beyond just discovering product capabilities to the practices you apply within your Scrum. This doesn't just apply to new Scrum teams. Existing Scrum teams often find themselves surrounded by so many complementary practices that negatively impacts their ability to look inward, inspect, change direction, adapt, or make things known to everyone, be transparent. Make sure to frequently validate whether the practices you are using in your Scrum still make sense and are optimizing your act of empiricism rather than impeding it. It's human nature to want to take the learnings and the things that worked from one situation and apply them in the next one. However, that doesn't always work, as we saw in this situation. The same can be said with children, right? If you've got different children with different personalities, what works for one child in the way of learning or teaching them a specific lesson or even discipline may not necessarily work for the next child, and we shouldn't blindly apply our learnings in every single situation. Sometimes it's good as a Scrum Master, specifically if you're moving to a new team or starting with the team, a first team, to sit back, ask questions, learn, understand, observe. before coming in and making too many changes or implementing too many things. And so just as we saw in this situation, practices, principles, sometimes best practices that worked with one team aren't always necessary with another team. If the team pushed back initially, if that was my team and they pushed back initially when we broached the topic of having a team working agreement, or at least working on a team working agreement, maybe I would let the team go a few sprints and see, did they really need one? Did any issues arise within the team? Did any conflict arise that encouraged us or would have incentivized the team to want to create a team working agreement? Some teams work well together. Some teams don't necessarily need a formalized team working agreement. And so we shouldn't believe that all Scrum teams are a monolith. Yes, there are things that are some best practices with Scrum teams. And yes, we've got the framework from the Scrum Guide and the values and principles of Scrum as well as Agile. But still, even with that, I think the creators of Scrum know that every team isn't the same, every organization isn't the same, and we can't necessarily apply this process identically in every single situation. Did you enjoy today's episode? I hope you did. Leave me a comment. Let us know what you think. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a good one.